FlashForge Adventurer 3 printers, removing prints from the build plate. So once a print has finished, it will state build complete here at the top. It's important not to hit the OK button until the build plate is actually completely clear. Once you hit the OK button, Polar Cloud will allow for another print to be sent to this printer. So if that print has not been removed, then it'll simply start to try to print directly on a print that's still existing on that build plate. So in order to remove it, there's a little latch right here that has to be pinched in the front. You pinch that and then pull it out. The easiest thing to do for most prints is to flex the build plate because it's just this kind of metal material. So you'll just flex it and then it will typically lift up. I like to use either the scraper or sometimes even the little snips. I will bend it so that one corner lifts up and then slide the build plate scraper directly underneath, and then they just pop right off. After removing the prints, I will pull baggies here and then calculate the number of minutes in Polar Cloud that it took to print with the student's name, and I'll bag it up and then put it in a bin so that they can have their prints paid for later. Again, I'd put their name on here and then calculate the number of minutes that it took in order for that to print. Replacing the build plate, you notice that there's a little bit of the PLA that was printed here, as well as the skirt on the outside. I use this typically to just kind of use the edge and lightly kind of scrape. Once you get it to lift, it just pops and pulls right off. And I'll throw that away, as well as the one in the corner here. And once I get it started, it just peels pretty much right off. In replacing it, it's important not to scrape too hard though, because you can damage some of these plates here. Like this one's been damaged right there on the corner, but it's still very well usable. To replace it, it's important that these line up on the sides. This is spring-loaded, so I try to line it up with one corner then the other, pressing down on the plate, and then you just guide it all the way in. Sometimes the prints, when people will put them in, they'll only lock it in on one side. And if you do that while it's printing, it may initially start holding, but it's elevated here and it will eventually slide off. So you've got to get it locked in on both sides, pressing down firmly. Give it a side-to-side jiggle to make sure that it's in there, and then it's locked in the front, and now it's ready to start with the next print. There it is.